Okay, so let's jump into Module 1 and talk a little bit about sustainability and good design in terms of eco-products, eco-design and electronics. The content for this session, well, is quite short. We have to cover two main topics. First of all, the sustainable paradigms, and the second one we will talk about good design, but we will link design more into a business way. So we will talk about business strategy, marketing strategies, and at the very end I want to give you some good practices that you can take from this course. So at the very beginning, as said, we will talk about sustainability. Sustainability, of course, in a bigger manner, so we will start with some environmental aspects, but also we should talk about social aspects when going into this topic. Well, environmental impacts, of course, you know that on the supply chain, on every spot and every production, manufacturing, distribution, until the very end, at the user perspective and the end of the product perspective, there are occurring different environmental impacts, right? Starting with typical emissions, so pollutions, but also, and that's on top of the slide, we should talk about the labor, this is the social part, when considering environmental impacts alongside the whole supply chain. And this is, of course, applicable for all kind of products and even in terms of services. Those environmental impacts, they are, of course, manifold. So we have a lot of different and very specific emissions or pollutions in this. If we're going into electronics and e-products, we need to consider that more than 20 kilograms of this electrical products is coming to the market per person per year in the European Union. And this includes everything, starting from washing machines, vacuum cleaners, refrigerators, freezers, smartphones, laptops, TVs, so far and so on. And what we will see later in this session as well is that the product lifetime is a very, very crucial part. Already as a short hint, well, 2.3 years was calculated by a study, is the difference between desired lifetime and the actual lifetime that we are using our products. So here we can see already big potential to save a lot of environmental impacts and to push us a little bit more to sustainability. As aforementioned, we need to consider as well the social dimension. We will see later on some examples that especially social dimensions in those areas where electronics are produced are very important and problematic. So we need to talk about the employment, we need to talk about migration, also about gender equality. And one part as well that is still a problem that is not really tangible for the European Union, but we are part of this problem in terms of child labor. A lot of electronics are using child labor in their production or in the mining phase. So we need to consider, or if we want to push sustainability, not only in the European Union, we need to focus on those social dimensions, social impacts that occur from these trends and from the global value chain. In this, the European Union is active. There are different initiatives that you will hear more about later on as well that try to overcome these problems also on the social perspective. Well, I have mentioned already a little bit the lifetime of products, but first of all, let's maybe look into the different areas where actually some emissions of products can occur. So what we see here is that we have 5 items, 5 electronics that show their emissions in terms of production, distribution, actual use and waste. And here it is quite interesting to see already that smartphones have in total a quite low impact, but the production has a very high share on that for smartphones. Whereas bigger items such as TVs and washing machines have the higher emissions in their actual usage. But also production still almost 50% in television area. So here we need to consider taking a closer look into the production. What is happening there? How can we reduce those emissions? When we are talking about production, we need to consider that we are not only talking about the resources, raw materials themselves. We need to consider also hazardous goods. So especially very raw materials are mined with a lot of chemicals and a lot of water usage. So taking a look here is very important. As an example, we have chlorofluorocarbon, which was used in former times for refrigerators and freezers. This chemical has a high contribution for the ozone depletion. So this is forbidden now, but still there are a lot of materials used, chemicals are used, and as I said, the water usage is very high and also a big topic. Coming to the product lifetime, also here called a little bit as a framework, we need to distinguish between 3 different lifetimes. First of all, the actual lifetime. The actual lifetime takes a look at the lifetime of a product from the moment where a customer buys it until the moment the customer puts it into the trash or it is going into the recycling. Then we have the designed lifetime. This is part of the manufacturer. So the manufacturer, of course, has an idea how long a product should actually be functional from the technical perspective. And last but not least, we have the desired lifetime. This is a little bit connected to the actual one, at least from the customer's perspective. So the desired lifetime is the expectation of the customer. How long will I use this electronics, this e-product? And interestingly, we will see that later, those 2, desired lifetime and actual lifetime, they have a quite high difference. So the moment when you buy an electronic and you think, well, it probably lasts 5 months, 5 years, whatever. And afterwards, the actual time you use it might be a little bit shorter. But we will talk about that later as well. This part of, or this problem of the lifetime is also on the European Commission's table. So we do have the Circular Economy Action Plan. We do have initiatives that foster longer usage of electronics to exactly erase this gap between actual lifetime and desired lifetime. As already teased, well, we do have 2 main parts to look at. On the one side, we need to have the customer relation, the factors that dedicate how the customer experiences, looks onto an electronic product. And we do have the producer, the manufacturer's side. So on the customer, well, of course, every customer might be different. So consumer characteristics are very important. Am I a person that needs every year the latest smartphone? Am I a person that is using my devices very long? So we have a high range of different customers, which makes it not easy to find one solution. Also, and this is an interplay between both parts, the product characteristics determine how long the consumer will use it, and also situational influence. For example, if I get a new job, I might get higher wage. My motivation to buy new electronics is much higher than before. We can see this in several studies. As soon as people are shifting their jobs or receiving higher salaries, their consumption goes up as well. And this applies for electronics especially. On the producer, on the manufacturer side, well, of course, we have again this interplay to the customer. So any kind of demand coming from the market, from the consumers, is also determining how products are developed. Also, company strategies, of course. It depends a little bit. What is the strategy of the company? And here there is the term of planned obsolescence, which means, well, the functionality shall stop in a certain amount of time. So the functionality is limited. This is on the one hand side, of course, very bad in terms of waste, because if a product cannot be used anymore, then it's going to the waste or recycling. But we need to mention that there are also some pro-arguments for this strategy. especially when it comes to competitiveness and improvements of products and services. But from the perspective that we have here in this lecture today in terms of sustainability, this strategy is of course not a good thing for us. And of course there are more factors like the overall supply chain and the technology available that determine how long a product should function from a producer's perspective. I've mentioned already this different aspects of lifetime, and here we have very nice statistics on the actual lifetime, the designed lifetime and the desired lifetime for 4 items. And if we take a look, maybe we start with the smartphones. Well, let's take a look at the desired lifetime, a little bit more than 5 years. So the study asked people when they bought a new phone, well, how long do you expect to use it? And the mean is more than 5 years. If we take a look at the actual lifetime, it's less than 2. So what happened? Well, we do not know. We can assume that exactly those factors mentioned, situational influence, characteristics of the consumer, changed the behavior, changed the expectation, and they bought a new phone. We can also take a look into television. Here we still have this gap, but it is interesting that televisions are made to function for 25 years. So here we see, well, the producers do not really use this planned obsolescence that I just mentioned, this strategy. So this is good, but still the more important is the difference between actual lifetime and desired lifetime when it comes to circular economy. Well, I've mentioned circular economy, so we need to rethink how to use items, how to use products, how to use electronics. And what we can see here is 2 different approaches. First of all, in orange, this line of course, we see this linear supply, which means from the material on the left side, I can increase the value into the final product, then it is used, and afterwards the value is going down because the product is just waste. We need to change this into more idea of remanufacturing, recycling, so this is the upper graph, towards circular economy. And another picture supporting that is maybe this, which has at least half of a circle. The same idea on the bottom, we see this one line in orange, linear supply chain, but we need to get into the producer's mind, into the people's mind, that we can reuse materials, that we can remanufacture, maybe build them more modular so that we can reuse parts of that to really achieve this circular value chain. Well, I have mentioned that if we are talking about circular value chain, we need to think more global. And especially in terms of electronics, we do have the issue that a lot of parts are produced or mined in other countries outside of the EU, and there it causes several problems. Some of them have been mentioned already. Here are some more. So labor issues. Labor is paid very badly. We have health and safety issues. So especially in mining, there are safety risks for the workers. And also we have this very last problem of the treatment of the waste. It is important to know that the European Union is exporting a lot of waste. A lot of that is even hidden, so it is very hard to have some statistics here. And the numbers are growing. The waste exported to other parts of the world, this is growing, and we need to take care of this because, as mentioned, when we are talking about sustainability, circular economy, we need to think more global, including environmental and social impacts. And as a very last point for this part, well, there are initiatives trying to face or to tackle exactly those problems. So the Africa mining vision, for example, to really push the circumstances, make them better for people working there, erase child labor and increase the safety of the workers. The same applies for initiatives in Africa, but also, as mentioned, global, which are actually supported by the European Union. Well, that was more or less a short introduction into this part of sustainability. Of course, this is highly complex. Of course, this needs to be elaborated way more. So feel free to make some research on that on your own. Because of now, we want to go into a part of good design. Designing e-products and how does it relate to marketing and business strategies. And at the final end, I want to give 1 or 2 good practices that can be directly used by yourself. So maybe if the problem is not yet in your mind enough, then just a few sentences why we should take a focus on this again. So the digitalization, of course, it is rising. Digitalization is not only infrastructure, but still sensors, e-products, the number used in the industry is growing. So then, of course, the global consumption is growing as well, not only on the consumer side as we just saw, but also as mentioned on the producer side. And at the end of this chain, we have more electronic waste. As mentioned, we need to have a look on the recycling, remanufacturing. So currently we are talking about a rate of 6.5% increase every year, and only approximately 20% of this waste, of this e-waste, is recycled efficiently. So there's a lot of potential to move forward to more circular economy. As mentioned, the European Commission is having initiatives supporting this, has initiatives, ideas, targets, new values to achieve, to push this circular economy. However, there's still a long way to go, and as a result we still have, or we need to find, let's say, the balance between this growing needs in electronics, well, the limited resources, of course, and environmental and social targets. Well, why is marketing somehow important now in this topic? Well, marketing is nothing else than exactly the interplay between consumer and businesses from the business perspective. So marketing definitely, it helps to meet short-time goals, or in long-time goals it would be branding as well from the producer's perspective, from the businesses. Also, new markets can be elaborated or even found there or expand. And this is all a planning instrument, of course, for your strategy, for the business strategy as well. And we will see a little bit how marketing can capitalize on the marketing mix and how it can capitalize on eco-design. And at the very end, I want to share with you probably a quote that you already know: marketing is about values. So we've been talking about the social dimension, environmental dimension, interplay. We are talking about values between consumer and producer in terms of electronics. Marketing needs a strategy. Well, this is quite clear. Well, success, according to Jim Rohn, is only 20% skill and 80% strategy. So he said, well, you might know how to succeed, but more importantly, what is your plan to succeed? So that's why we need to focus here. We need to have a look, how can this strategy planning be designed? How can we put this into electronics to achieve our goals? Michael Porter had another quite interesting quote here: it is a matter of being different at what you do, not being only better. And that's what we need. We need to make things different. We need to treat products, electronic products, different. We saw that earlier in this actual lifetime and desired lifetime. So we need to make something different. We need to change. Well, those quotes, they sound very well, but we need to keep in mind another quote: culture eats strategy for breakfast. That means nothing else, that you can have the best strategy from a business side, but you have to have this culture, you have to have the people behind you, people in your business, but also outside, so the consumers, to really develop a brand, to develop a certain value with your products. Well, there are, of course, a lot of methods and tools out there in terms of marketing, but how does it now fit into what we've been talking about? Well, first of all, the main part of each strategy is to define some goals, right? For example, the SMART paradigm could be used here or should be used here. And The next 1 or 2 points, well, this frameworks. The frameworks and conditions, they are given. That's why we've been mentioning European frameworks initiatives. And now the next step for businesses is to put this into their own opportunities, business opportunities. Yes, to create value for customers and stakeholders, to create ecological and social value, a branding for customers and stakeholders. Now let's try to put this marketing frameworks, strategies together with eco-design. Eco-design could, or I would even say should be here one of the backbones, because up to 80% of environmental impact of a product originates in the design phase. So the design of a product determines already at the very beginning the pollution, the emissions that will occur in the whole process, from the production, distribution, usage until waste. So that's why eco-design is very, very important at the first stage, because here we can have a look into repairability, recyclability of the product that we want to manufacture and to develop. So here again, referring to European eco-design rules and applicable rules, they are out there, they just need to be applied. Right? So I've mentioned the Action Plan for Circular Economy. This was updated in 2020. The European Green Deal, Fit for 55, new European Bauhaus. The last one is pushing the eco-design the most, so they reuse the old paradigms of Bauhaus school for more sustainability in the products. And last but not least, the strategies for circularity, so the worlds of REES. You will have those later on in this lecture a little bit more detailed. Well, as mentioned, marketing and strategy towards sustainability, we need to put good design in here. And I want to share with you, if you do not know yet, the 10 principles of good design by Dieter Rams, a German manufacturer from 1976. So this is not new, this is already known. We know how good design should look like, but we need to apply this in our current times. So when we talk about good design, it should be innovative. It needs to make a product useful. Aesthetics, well, we don't know what was aesthetic back in the 70s, but we know what is aesthetic for us today. So this might be different, but still the principle is the same. Making a product understandable, which means make it easy to use. Make it unobtrusive. Make it honest. Honest could be seen also as transparent. Show us your supply chain. How sustainable are you in the whole process? Long lasting. We've been talking about the product lifetime. As little design as possible. So less is more, form follows function. Those principles are still valid. So if we just easily think on the resources, they are very limited. So the less we need for the product, the better for us. Good design is also thorough down to the last detail. So it does not make sense only to have good design in the package. It has to be until the last detail, and at the very last, of course, good design is environmental friendly, reduces emissions, and we should add the social perspective here as well. So some good practices that are already out there. First of all, I would just like to share with you the circular business model, or it's also called Sustainability Guide for Business. So if you're running a business, you can directly use that and adapt it for your own products or service, whatever you are offering to the market. So the idea is here to capitalize on sustainability in 6 steps, right? So provide and perform, extend the product value, try to establish long life of your product, but also service, encourage sufficiency, extend resource value. Again, what we had earlier, reuse the resources, recycle resources, and of course, industrial symbiosis. So this could be seen also as cooperation. Shared economy, for example, is such an example. Another good practice is the circulator. What does it mean? Well, it's just the idea to mix different strategies. We had we've been talking a lot about marketing strategy, but you can also have value creation strategies, value network strategies, and this tool is trying to help you to put these together to find synergies and to make a step towards more sustainability, of course, and circular economy. A very last one I want to share with you as well. It might be hardly to read, but don't worry, you will see this in the assignments as well, is an awarded matrix. So this matrix received the Eco Design Award in Germany. It is quite simple. On the top of this table, you will see all the steps starting from production until waste. And on the left side, you have different criteria. And now, of course, it is your job, your homework, it will be later on, to take a case and have a look into each part of this matrix and to evaluate an existing chain, whether it is sustainable, whether it is going into the direction of circular economy or not. So this matrix, well, looks a little bit big, but there are only 6 criteria on the left side and 5 steps on the top. Well, to conclude a little bit, what is the summary of this? Well, to have efficient and effective marketing or business strategies, well, eco-design is important. If you have a product and even if you have a service, don't think that services are not part of this. Eco-design can also support your services. Sustainable choice of raw materials. We see that especially electronics use a lot of raw materials, use also rare materials. We've been talking about mining. So here we need to focus and to make a shift towards another use. Maybe biodegradable materials could be a solution. So have a look, can you replace 1 or 2 materials for another one? Energy efficiency, material efficiency, very important in the manufacturing, of course. And then when it comes to the interplay with the customer, well, being crystal clear, being transparent, being honest with labeling, licensing for the customer. Again, develop a brand, share the value, or ask yourself, what is the value for the customer? And then, of course, this is very challenging, but we need to find solutions how to balance all these interests, and needs, of course, on environmental, social perspective, economic perspective, circular economy perspective. So it is quite hard to bring this together. It is challenging, but we need to focus on this and find new solutions. And of course, this is something each business needs to be prepared for. At the very end, of course, again, for a little bit marketing, if you're doing marketing, storytelling, use keywords like green, eco-friendly for your products. Make sure that the customer, the consumers, is aware that it's recyclable and repairable, so that you are a part of this transition towards circular economy with your businesses. Well, now it is your turn. After listening to me, it is now your turn to go into case studies and do this little assignment. So what will be the task? Well, there is a certain case and the assignment is quite simple. So try to explore this product lifetime that we introduced earlier. So what is the actual lifetime of a product? Analyze some environmental, climate, social aspects. Try to figure out which frameworks, which initiatives, European initiatives, can be supported by those products or not. And in the end, of course, try to find out some measures to reduce the negative impacts of your case. So, thank you for joining me, thank you for watching and listening, and I do hope that some of the aspects were quite interesting and also new for you. I hope you will enjoy the assignment and I'm looking forward to seeing you again.